The Grove City College swimming and diving program has had a remarkable share of championship success through the years. Conference champions, national champions, and now a world champion. Born with a birth defect that led to the amputation of her left foot when she was 8 months old, Grove City College swimmer Mikaela Jenkins captured gold medal at the 2020 Paralympic Games in Tokyo. On this episode, we learned about Mikaela's incredible journey and find out what's next for this rising senior. Welcome to the podcast from Grove City College, highlighting excellence, faith, and character in the world of athletics. Welcome to Grit and Glory. Mikaela, I think we need to start with your big news this week. We're recording this in early May, end of your junior year at Grove City College. And just 3 days ago, you announced that you are retiring from international swim competition,
Yes.
which means that you will not be competing in the Paralympics in Paris in August. You won't be defending your gold medals there.
No.
Tell us about that decision. How hard was that?
It was a really tough decision. It's something that I've been battling the last, I would say, good 2 years. The issue is with me personally, as I've never been good at having my entire life be just school and just swim. Like, I have to have some free time and I have to have my hobbies and like hang out with my friends. And I wasn't able to put 100% of my effort both into school and into swim, and that was stressing me out a lot because I was like, well, I have all these upcoming competitions, but also I'm trying to get to medical school, and it was just not working for me personally. I know some people are able to do it, but I have not seen that many like pro athletes be able to juggle an extremely hard major, especially here at Grove City because it is very academically rigorous, and swimming at the level that you need to swim at in order to compete.
Right. And you did it for 5 years, didn't you? I mean,
yeah, for a while.
On the international stage, elite competition.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, probably most elite swimmers swimming nationally and internationally, they're not pursuing a molecular biology degree, right? They're not working a full-time job. How did you balance both?
It was easier in high school because it was high school work, but it was a lot of making sure I'm prioritizing my time and being effective at what I'm doing. So when I'm studying, I like to say I'm the world's best crammer, but it basically learning what works for you and like applying those when you need to use them so that you're not wasting 10 hours studying for something that could be done in 5 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, since you made the announcement just a few days ago, what has the reaction been from others, family, friends?
I've gotten a really good reaction. I've gotten lots of very supportive messages and people telling me how like proud they are of me, which I was surprised about because I knew that my friends really liked me and my family loves me, but it was nice to hear all of the really solid messages of like, oh, I can't wait to see what you do in the future, and we're still going to support you, and it was just nice to read those.
And of course, your competitive swim career is not over. You'll return as a senior next year for the Wolverines, trying to help them win a 6th straight President's Athletic Conference championship. Talk a little bit about Coach Fritz, your teammates, and your whole swimming experience at Grove City College.
I absolutely love the team here. It's been my favorite team that I've ever swam on, including like back at home and the national team. And it's just a very unique environment. The team itself is a very faith-based team, which is really nice, and I've been able to grow like not only in my swimming but also in my own personal faith and even in academics with my teammates around me. They are all extremely hardworking, and that's always very motivating to see.
So you would say your faith has grown since you came here as a freshman?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So
combination of teammates, another person, professors, just everything?
Yeah, everything. It's everyone around here is so unique and has such a unique perspective, and so if you really just like stop and take the time to listen, you learn so much from everybody.
Yeah. So let's think back to Tokyo. It was 2021 because it was delayed by a year due to COVID. You're on a national stage, the Paralympics, a dream, right?
Yeah.
Did it live up to your expectations?
It did, and it definitely didn't. I didn't realize how stressed I was going to be those 4 weeks. Because you think about it, you work for something like sometimes 10 years of your life, all for it to rely on like one whole minute. And so I remember walking to the call room, which is the place where they line all the athletes up, and I was like, what if I miss the wall, or what if I mess up my turn or my dive? I was like, and the coach that was walking me there, she was like, Mikaela, you got this. This is stuff you've always done. And it's definitely really, really scary. I don't think I slept for 4 weeks. It was definitely, I think, a little bit more stressful than a normal games, just with COVID. And there being 10,000 athletes in this village, or how many athletes there were.
And no fans.
No fans, but lots of access to diseases. And so it was very much, you kind of bubbled in with the couple people that you wanted to surround yourself with so that you didn't hopefully get sick from anyone else, because we did test for COVID every single day.
Share some of your favorite memories from Tokyo.
Yeah, so my best friend, Julia Gaffney, we've been best friends for a long time. She's also on the national team. We both won our first world champion gold in 2019 on the same day. I won it in 100 fly and she won it in 2IM. And so just getting to experience games with her was awesome. Additionally, for the relays, we had cisgender relays at that point. Now they're mixed. It's 2 men, 2 women. But it was all women, all men. And I don't think that's coming back anytime soon. So we won the last 4x100 medley relay for just women. That's going to happen at the games for the Paralympics, probably for the foreseeable future. And we hadn't won that relay as a nation since like the early 2000s. So I got to like stand up there with those girls, and some of them I'm really, really close to, and that was just a very unique experience. And it's even more unique, and I'm even more grateful for it now that they've taken away those relays, because we didn't know that at the time, or at least I didn't.
So impressive. In the show open, we mentioned your disability. Can you explain it to us, Mikaela?
Yeah, so I was born with a condition called PFFD, which stands for proximal femoral focal deficiency, which is a big fancy name for basically saying that my left femur is shorter than my right femur, and I also have like a dysplastic hip, and I'm missing some ligaments in my knees, so that can make some of my joints a little bit looser. But I wasn't the least involved case, but I wasn't the most involved case. So the best option for me personally was amputation. So I had a Symes amputation when I was about 8 months old. And that way I could learn to walk on a prosthetic leg and do everything with the leg instead of having to relearn to walk, which I think is harder. Fortunately, I always had coaches that, my coach in high school had a master's in kinesiology, and Fritz has done lots of classes with like, I think it's some fancy term, but like biophys stuff in the body. So all of my coaches have been extremely knowledgeable on how to work with my disability and improve what I can to use what I have the best I can.
Talking to Coach Fritz, he says you never make any excuses. He says you think you should be competing with anybody, anywhere, anytime.
Yeah, that would make my parents mad at me sometimes, because I would be at like a really high level competition like the US Toyota Open, or I think that's what a Tier Open series or something like that, which it has like real, like the Olympians and all the D1 athletes, and I'd be in the last heat and I'd be like, why can't I compete with them, you know, keep up to their level? And my mom was like, you're actually being ridiculous. Like, they have 2 legs, you know. And so sometimes my parents never made excuses for me growing up, and I have taken that so much to heart that sometimes they need to be like, Mikaela, you're disabled. It's okay. Like, you gotta remember that sometimes.
How much would you say, Mikaela, that character and values and integrity have played into your success?
Yeah, absolutely. Something that my dad always told me about my grandfather was that everyone who would ever talk about him just said he had such integrity as a man, and he would always tell me that, like, if I was to look up to someone, that's who I'd want to look up to. And that's still held true to this day, and I think that's like really important for whatever you do, is to maintain that, because without that, then like kind of what's the point for doing what you're doing?
For sure, yeah. You mentioned your dad. Let's go back to when you were a kid and you discovered swimming. When did you think swimming was going to be it for you, and how early did you start swimming competitively?
Yeah. So I learned to swim when I was like 3 through like the toddler lessons, like most kids. And when I was 8, I started swimming on the YMCA in actually York, Pennsylvania. But I was also riding horses and I was competitive barrel racing. And I did both, sort of, when we lived in Texas. And then when I was about 12 or 13, when we moved up to Indiana, my parents were like, okay, you kind of have to choose one of like where you want to go. And so I ended up choosing swim because there wasn't a lot of opportunities to race in at least horses in Indiana. And so that's what I ended up doing and kind of went down that road. And then I realized I was pretty good for like para stuff and ended up starting that.
Okay. So as a kid, you're watching TV, you're watching the Olympics. Was that kind of like, oh, that'd be really cool to stand on that podium or to get in that pool or to swim to those cheers? That's kind of, did that get in your veins and your blood? And you're kind of like, that's something I want to pursue.
Yeah. I watched the Rio Olympics in 2016 and the Rio Paralympics in 2016, and that was something that was of interest to me. Now I'm the type of person that I kind of put 100% into whatever I'm doing at the moment. So when I was swimming, I was like, why not? Like, that's the highest you can get. I'll try for it, right? And so then I think that can shift for me personally. Like, now I'm in school, I'm like, well, now I want to go to med school, so I'm going to try, put all my effort into getting there. Or I'm also thinking about graduate school too, so.
So explain, kind of break down, what does trying for it mean? That's not 2 or 3 days a week. That's a lot of swimming.
A lot. I was definitely doing doubles every single day, whether or not it was like a dry land lift or swim and swim. Some days a week I would do like triples. Like I would have 2 swim practices and lift, which I don't think I realized how much that was until I came to college, and my training has been a lot different. I don't think I could do that again as an athlete at my age, which sounds crazy because I'm only 21, but it does change when you're 16 to when you're 21. But I did train a lot back then, and I worked very hard.
Who guided you through that training? Did you have a personal trainer? Was it you were an IMCA coach? Was it a high school person? Who was it?
Yeah, so I had 2 main coaches. Maria Heathcott, she was kind of my private coach, and we did a lot of supplemental work with her because high school season sometimes was a little bit rough with the way they structured meets in order to get proper training in. It was also different than club season too, so you have the high school students who are like, oh, I'm going to try swimming. So it's just a different environment. And then I had my coach, Aaron Opel, and he also coached Lily King in high school, who is an Olympic breaststroker. She won gold in Rio and I think silver or bronze in Tokyo, I forget which. But she's still a pro athlete, and he himself was a Big Ten champion for IU, so very knowledgeable coaches, and they helped a lot with my journey.
Through the training, when you had the doubles and the triples, 2 and 3 practices a day, were there days when you said, I don't know if I can do this anymore?
Yeah, I think the first time I really started to feel like that was after COVID hit, just because training was so open-ended in terms of where I could go and what I could do. And I was training in a pool with a bungee cord, and I kind of hated that. That was not my favorite time. And so there was a lot of mental toughness that went into it. And I think at that point, because I've been training so hard, I started to get a little bit burnt out. And I remember feeling that pretty significantly, like right before games. Like I swim at States right before I left for Tokyo, and it didn't go super well. And I was telling my coach, I was like, I can't do this. And he was like, Mikaela, you have 1 more month left. Just, you can do it, I promise. And so I remember having that conversation very, very clearly. And I'm very glad that he was like, Mikaela, you can, it's okay. Yeah. And so sometimes it's nice to have like someone who knows you very well externally tell you that. So.
Did there come a point, Mikaela, when you said, am I really doing this for me? Am I happy?
Yeah, I think that that particularly started to like come into play this year, the last 2 years, because I was actually talking to my boyfriend about it and my decision, and he was like, Mikaela, like if there was literally anyone, like no one else was watching, this was all your choice, what you choose. And he was like, I wouldn't go to games. I would take a break and like do some other like different activities, like exercise-wise, and really invest in my schoolwork. And he was like, I think that's very indicative in what you need to choose. And I was like, okay, you got a point. And so then I continued to pray about it and talk to my family about it, and my friends too. And I think that's why I ended up coming to that decision this year specifically. So.
How'd you find Grove City College?
Partially recruiting. Coach Fritz was very adamant in recruiting me as soon as possible, and I really appreciated that because it made it really easy to choose this school versus others. But I had actually met him my freshman year of high school because my mom was very proactive in looking for Christian colleges because I wanted to swim D1 at that point, and she knows what's best for me and was telling me, she was like, I think you'll do really, really well at a private Christian school that's small, that has a good STEM program and a good swim team. And I was still fighting her. I was like, no, I want to swim D1. I'm really glad I didn't now. But, and there's like 3 of those in the country that fit that particular stipulation. And so one of which was Grove City, and they were hosting a swim camp in the summer. So I came up and got to know Coach Fritz and see kind of the campus, and I really, really enjoyed it a lot. And I was like, okay, I could see myself here. I was like, of course, my mom was right. And so then I had to tell her that, and this was actually the only school I applied to.
Wow.
Yeah.
We have that in common.
Yeah.
Class of 91 here. Okay, so Grove City College, this is the swim team, good professors. What other things about the college experience have you liked here at Grove City?
Yeah. I think I've said this a couple times, but I absolutely adore my friends here. They mean so much to me. I like to say they're like family at this point. Like, I have 3 roommates, and they mean the world to me, and I love all of my other friends that I've met here. They love to have fun, and like right now everyone likes to hang out on the quad now that it's warm. But also they're really, really good at if you need advice, or like whether or not it's just like academic advice or even like spiritual advice. I've met some of the wisest people I think I've ever known here at this school, and they're like my age too, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of crazy. So they're awesome.
Friends for life, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so molecular biology, thinking about med school, correct?
So I'm a molecular biology major, and I have a chemistry minor because I'm considering applying to some PhD programs in OChem or medicinal chem, and potentially going down that route. I haven't really decided yet, which is why I think I'm going to take a gap year and kind of evaluate my choices, because I really, really love lab work, but I also like medicine, so I'm not entirely sure what I want to do yet.
Where do you think the love of that field came from? Was it family, with friends? Did that strike you at an early age, something you wanted to do?
Yeah, my dad is a doctor. He's an emergency medicine physician, but also I grew up in the children's hospital just because I am a below-knee amputee, and so for care and various surgeries and stuff, so I was always surrounded by people in the medical field. My orthopedic surgeon now, Dr. Walker, is amazing, and she's been so helpful in like reaffirming my love of medicine, just because it's hard to be an orthopedic surgeon, but it's especially hard to be a female orthopedic surgeon, and so she's always inspired me a lot. In terms of the chemistry aspect, I kind of discovered how much I really, really like chemistry here, because I love our chem professors and I love our bio professors. But I cried the last day of OChem lab last year, and my parents were like, maybe you need to consider that as a field, because that's not normal. And I was like, I'm so sad to leave, I don't want to go. Yeah.
So your fight, your drive, your grit, where do you think that's come from?
Probably all of my family, but specifically my grandma on my dad's side. My mom used to say she was incredibly stubborn, and my grandma on my mom's side too, both my grandmas, they're very, very stubborn people, and they know what's right, and they will make sure that things end up a very certain way, and I've always loved that about them. So.
Any plans to swim after Grove City College?
Yeah, definitely. I swam with a master's team in high school, actually. to get some supplemental practice during high school season. And I always loved the adults there, and they really liked me. And I go back and visit them when I have a chance when I'm home too. So I could see myself doing that in the future.
As we wrap up, Mikaela, what one piece of advice would you give to a high school student listening or watching right now who is beginning the pursuit of their goal or their dream? What would you tell them?
I think the biggest piece of advice that I would give up-and-coming students or even athletes is that you have to love what you're doing, and if you don't, life's too short to be miserable, and you have to really prioritize things that you enjoy. Now, life's not all about I'm gonna do whatever I want because it's fun, but you have to love what you're studying, and you have to love your sport, and if you don't, you need to prioritize things or reevaluate things, and that's okay, but talking to your friends and your family and taking their advice, because they do know you best, is really, really important.
Because if you're not passionate about it, you're not going to work as hard, right?
Yeah.
Well, Mikaela, thank you so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed this discussion. Best wishes on retirement, and good luck in your next chapter.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning into Grove City College's Grit and Glory podcast. To follow the swimming and diving teams this upcoming season, visit athletics.gcc.edu. To find out how you can support the Wolverine Athletics program and the Impact 150 campaign, visit gcc.edu/impact150. And don't forget to follow Grit and Glory wherever you listen to podcasts. More episodes featuring excellence, character, and faith in the world of athletics are coming up. Until next time, I'm Joe Klimchak. Bye for now.